Yes, we are working on that right now.
Okay, she's good.
And we're on.
We're on. Okay, welcome everyone. I will call the meeting to order, and I'll ask for the approval of the minutes of our meeting on September 15th. Is there a motion to approve? Thank you. And first and second, any changes, edits? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Kevin Loki, local labor monitoring report. You are first up.
All right, good afternoon. So I have the September 2020 monthly COMIDA report. So this report covers our site visits between September 1st and September 30th of 2020. During this period, we made 63 monthly site visits. We made 2 follow-up visits during this period. We checked the residency with 331 workers. Of those, we had 14 non-compliant, all of which were no proof of residence, and those were on 2 different projects. As of September 30th, all projects were in compliance. We had 1 new COMIDA sign delivered. That was to Image 360 Rochester.
Are you also giving the August report as in our packet?
Okay. I can do that. Give me 1 second. So August 2020. So this report will be our visits between August 1st and August 31st. During that period, we made 60 monthly site visits. We made 3 follow-up visits. We checked with residency with 439 workers. Of those, there were 8 non-compliant. 1 of them was no proof of residence. 7 were out of area. As of August 31st, all projects, were in compliance at the time of our inspection. During August, we had 5 new COMIDA signs delivered. 4 of those were Rochester City School District projects: East High School, Edison Tech, School 16, School 54. And I have on here True North Rochester Mark Street LLC, even though that's technically an MCIDC project. So that's an error and that should not be there.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Any questions for Kevin? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward. Thank you, Kevin.
You're very welcome.
Next item is local labor exemptions with Brian LaFountain from the Bonadillo Group.
Yes, hello folks. Thank you. I have 1 local labor exemption report to report on today, and this was related to the Bausch and Lomb project. They submitted a local labor exemption request related to the installation and configuration of the environmental monitoring system in their facility at North Goodman Street. Essentially, it's a system that monitors the temperature, humidity, differential pressure, and some other environmental factors within the facility in certain rooms. This was a warranty issue where the manufacturer, which is Vaisala Corporation, required to have their own certified installers to install the equipment and to configure the equipment. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions on this update?
This is Troy. I did talk to Brian earlier today about this project, and this is where I wasn't included in this exemption. After discussing what was involved with this warranty, this is something that we have and we would have worked on here in Monroe County to man this. Just another warranty item that's coming to the table here that we could have addressed, and we're going to work on that, talking with Brian going forward.
Okay, great. Thank you, Troy. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is we will review our financial report. Greg?
I forgot to put it in your bag.
Yes, thanks, Ann.
They all have it.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. 9 months through our fiscal year. September was a very strong month for the organization. Hopefully, kind of things to come. I think some of the things that have been in the backlog have closed out. So you could see in terms of our balance sheet, our cash is still fairly strong, a little over $7 million, down obviously where it was at the end of last year, but planned on all those expenditures have been expected. Everything else on the balance sheet is fairly consistent. Our normal accrual things to represent timing. We did have one and other short-term liabilities is really just the pass-through pilot payment that we have to, I think that was due for the Medley Center. That's going to come out of our bank account here in October. But overall, like I said, our balance sheet still remains strong. Our summary of our revenue and expenses, as you can see, revenue was really good for September. We did about over 300,000 of projects closed and things closed, so that was our strongest month since February, and quite a bit over any of the months. So again, hopefully it's not going to come. All of our expenses are expected. Our sponsorships are down compared to budget, as we've talked about in the past. Payroll is pretty much on track. Program and community development, again, pretty much on target to budget. It is substantially different than what it was a year ago because that was the planned Ladders Up Empower program that we committed to at the end of last year. That is now hitting our financial statements. Again, our expenses overall are better than budget. However, as you can see, the revenue is less than budget. Again, we are anticipating, we do have a lot of backlog. We do have a lot of projects that have been approved that have not closed. So we're hoping, again, that's gonna help us over these next 3 months. I don't think we're gonna make up that entire gap, but I still think, hopefully better things to come. So overall, our deficit is quite a bit more. Obviously, you can see for the $1 million that we participated in the emergency loan program. If you take that out, we're at about a $700,000 deficit compared to what we had budgeted, about a $326,000 deficit. And again, most of that has to do with the reduction of revenue, but we have offset that a little bit by reducing our expenses. So stay tuned. Again, hopefully better things to come. Going into the last quarter after finishing our strongest month. So that's where we stand through September.
Greg, it looks like we, at the end of August, for total revenue, we were at $560,000. End of September, we're at $863,000. So big jump in 1 month. So like you said, a lot of those projects closed during the month of September.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, over 300,000 in September. So, like I said, hopefully we're on a good track moving forward.
We're catching up.
Yeah.
The pandemic slowed us down a little bit, but we're doing a good job with that, and also under budget on our expense side. So that's good. So any questions for Greg? All right. Thank you very much, Greg. All right. The first project we have, 1, 2, 4 projects that we'll be reviewing today. And the first one is Ring Concierge. Anna, would you like to walk us through that?
Yes, thank you, Anne. Ring Concierge LLC is a jewelry company founded in 2013 that is currently headquartered in New York City. Ring Concierge LLC is proposing to move customer service, finance, HR, and e-commerce operations to a new location in the town of Pittsford. The $115,000 project is projected to create 19 new FTEs with 6 new hires in the next 3 months. The applicant is seeking approval of sales sales tax exemption only. The benefit to incentive ratio is 116:1.
Okay, great. And I believe I heard the owner, Nicole Wegman, join us. Welcome, Nicole. Do you have anything, any additional comments you'd like to make on this move to Rochester?
No, just excited to be opening a new office here. Yeah, we've already hired, I think we're at 5 or 6 hires already. We've been open in Rochester since August, and we have plans to just keep expanding headcount here.
Great. Now, what I saw in your write-up, you had 13 employees in New York City. Do those people come here, or do they all go away, or do they stay there in New York City?
They stayed there, so these are incremental hires.
I see. Okay, that's good. So it's involves warehousing and distribution of the jewelry, and with e-commerce, you have all of that as well.
Correct. As well as, I think Anna mentioned, HR, customer service, and our finance team.
Right. Well, we're delighted to have that work and those jobs come to Monroe County. Do we have any questions from our board members on this for Nicole? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Hello?
I think it was just some feedback, Ann.
Okay. Do we have any board member questions for Nicole Wegman? All right.
Nicole, what was the deciding factor to pick Rochester?
I'm originally from Rochester, so I came back here during COVID, during the New York City shutdown. And we've been, all of these teams, we were going to expand in New York City. And when I was here, I realized what an opportunity I would have to move those functions to Rochester rather than keeping them in the heart of New York City and trying to fund all of that there. So that was the motivation.
Well, welcome back, Nicole.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Nicole? All right.
Nicole, I got a quick question for you, but you're breaking up on me, so I apologize if you can't hear me.
Can you, everyone, give their name before they start talking?
Yeah, Nicole, this is Joe Lalaco. So I got a question for you. So you mentioned the jobs, so they're going to be hired from Rochester, or they're transferred in from New York?
These are hires from Rochester.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Any other
Well,
questions?
welcome back.
Yes. Okay, before I'd like to ask you some local labor questions. Are you aware of our local labor policy?
Yes.
Do you anticipate any local labor exemptions at this time?
In terms of the work we've been doing on the space, using local labor and asking for sales tax exemption?
Well, yeah, we plan to file for any exemptions on the local labor requirement.
Yeah.
And what would those positions be?
We already have, I think we've hired a bunch of local labor for workspace improvements as well as security systems, and there's been a variety of things we've done in the office already.
And this is Rachel. Could I interject?
Yes, please.
So Nicole, as you know, and perhaps it's just some confusion, we have a 100% local labor policy that requires your contractors doing the work at the facility to be local as defined in our local labor policy. It's the 9-county economic development region plus Steuben County. So Chairwoman Burr is asking if you're aware of that policy, and she'll have some other questions about that. And if you anticipate that you'll need to hire any contractors outside of our local labor area, that's also what Chairwoman Burr is asking.
Okay, understood. Yeah, so far, everyone we've hired has been local labor, and we don't anticipating contracting anyone outside of that.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks,
Sure.
Paul. Are you aware that any exemptions, however, need to be requested 45 days in advance?
Yes.
Okay, great. The seeker process is complete. Anna will now move forward with reading the resolution.
Can I make a motion to waive the reading of the resolution?
Yes, you can. Is there a second on that? All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Chairwoman, this is Troy. So this is for the resolutions on all the remainder projects today that we're going to address?
Yes, thanks for clarifying that. I believe that is what the intent is.
That's correct, Troy. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have
Joining
a
the meeting.
first and a second. Any other questions on that? If not, I will, ask for a motion for inducement and final resolution approving the, excuse me, I'm gonna go back. All those in favor of the resolution to, defer reading, to not fully read the resolution, for this particular project and those, additionally on our agenda today. There was a motion to move in second, and there was no further discussion. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now I'll ask for a motion for inducement and final resolution approving the sales tax exemption on this project. Is there a motion?
Royal motion.
Thank you,
Lisa,
Joy.
second.
Thank you, Lisa, for the second. Any additional comments, questions? All right, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay Popley is absent. Tony? Lisa?
Yay.
Troy?
Yay.
Joe?
Yay.
Brett?
Yay.
And Ann is a yay. Motion carries. Congratulations, Nicole, and thanks for bringing all this great work to Monroe County. We appreciate that, and we're glad to have you here with your whole team.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we'll now move on to the next item on our agenda, which is 19 Cambridge Street. So hopefully everyone got the copy of the revised agenda. The Sparkle Holdings is not on today's agenda. Okay, Anna, do you want to walk us through 19 Cambridge Street, LLC?
Joining the meeting.
Yes, Anne, thank you. 19 Cambridge Street LLC, a real estate holding company, has purchased a building in the city of Rochester at 19 Cambridge Street to relocate Reliant Staffing Systems Incorporated, DBA Career Start, to support expansion and relocation due to a catastrophic fire at their previous location. Career Start specializes in working with individuals with multiple barriers to employment, such as incarceration, English as a second language, and single parents. The new office space will provide for a one-stop shop to provide supportive services, physicals and medical clearances, employment-related coaching, and placement. Career Start employs 40 internal staff members and worked with over 5,000 flexible staff last year. The total project will create 5 new jobs over the next 3 years. The job requirement is 4. The applicant is seeking approval of the Jobs Plus pilot program, sales tax, and mortgage recording tax exemptions. The benefit to incentive ratio is 10 to 1.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Did Lindsay McCutcheon join us?
Yes, she did.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, great. Lindsay is an owner of the project. And would you like to elaborate further on your plan?
Yeah, so, like she said, our building, I don't know if you guys remember, it was in the historic Cornhill neighborhood, suddenly caught on fire on a Saturday, Memorial Day weekend, and burned to the ground, which left us in emergency space, which we so graciously got relatively quickly. And we were now at another temporary location, and we found the perfect property at Cambridge Street, in which we purchased for our expansion. And this will be the headquarters for our location as we expand across the U.S. We have a growth plan of going to 25 cities in the next 3 years. And we will also be adding to the headquarters headcount for internal employees. As the headquarters will be at Cambridge Street, 19 Cambridge Street. We needed this, well, we don't need, not needed, we need this facility so that we're able to accommodate the volume of people that we're seeing and placing into work, especially now with the pandemic, the rise.
Ending the meeting.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that, I was interrupted, but especially now with the amount of entry-level staffing increases that we're seeing, we predominantly staff the medical industry and food manufacturing space.
Did you build the company here initially in the Cornhill? Was that?
We started in the good question. We started in the social service space located at 691 St. Paul Street. It was a pilot project to move people from public assistance to the workforce about 13 years ago when I graduated St. John Fisher College. And we then moved to next door to the social service building in our own place, and then subsequently Cornhill.
And you started the career, started business yourself with?
When I was 24 years old. Ironically, I was actually a temp employee.
Is that right? Well, that's
isn't that cool?
That's a local success story worth hearing. Sorry about the fire. That would have been devastating, but seems like you're getting back on your feet and rebuilding and growing at the same time. Really mm-hmm.
Oh, no, sorry. I thought that you were finished. There was a pause there. Keep going.
No, I say you're going to be providing services that are sorely needed in the community. And I like the fact that you are making those services, the site you've selected is accessible to, anyone needing those services. It's close to central location, it's parking, it has a bus stop less than 50 feet from your door. So sounds like you've done a lot of good planning on this particular site. Do we have questions? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that, to your point, we really rely on walk-in. So people, especially from the entry level of vulnerable populations, they never know when they're going to be able to get child care or be able to come out and apply and get services. So we like to be able to accommodate walk-in. So the bus line was really important to us. And I was just really very excited about the location of the property as well.
Okay, do we have thank you.
This is Tony, transitioning off of welfare and getting trained. What is a wage that sustains them to continue working with the training after they get a job for the training they receive?
I'm sorry, what is a sustainable wage? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so we meet people where they're at, depending on their skill level or past work experience, which may be nil. And it's kind of a really hard question to ask because it depends on the size of their family. So they still might need to be supplemented by some sort of public assistance. But for the most part, most of our individuals make $13 or more an hour. And we've even placed people for $80,000 a year, you know? So it really depends on the individual and their family size.
Well, that's wonderful. You're covering all of it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Are there other questions? Okay, there was a public hearing on this item today, October 20th, right? So were there any questions from the hearing?
No, there were not.
All right, thank you. And Lindsay, are you aware of our local labor policy?
Yeah.
Do you anticipate any local labor exemptions at this time?
No.
Are you aware that any exemptions need to be requested 45 days in advance?
Of course.
Okay, thank you. The seeker process is complete. We have waived the reading of the resolution because we have them in all of our documents for this meeting, and we have read them. So I will now ask for a motion for inducement and final resolution approving a real property tax abatement, mortgage recording tax, and sales tax exemption. Is there a motion?
So moved. This is Red.
Thank you, Rat. Is there a second?
Second, Joe.
Joe, thank you. Any comments or questions? All right, I'll take a roll call vote. Did Jay join by any chance?
He did. I apologize for being late. So, yay.
Yay, thank you. Tony? Lisa?
Yes.
Troy? Joe?
Yay.
Joining the meeting.
Yay.
Brett?
Patrick Dutton.
And Ann is a yay. That's unanimous. Congratulations, Lindsay. And yeah, as I say, we love hearing these local success stories, and you even overcome your obstacles and hurdles, and you take it forward. So we wish you a lot of success. Your success is our success.
Thank you so much for the kind words, and I'm appreciative of your time today.
Thank you very much.
Take good care.
You too. All right. Next application is Ren Square LLC. And Anna, you want to walk us through that?
Thank you. Ren Square LLC, a real estate holding company, has purchased the historic Glennie building located downtown in the city of Rochester. The long vacant building is a 6-story structure containing 33,000 square feet and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The building will be redeveloped into a mixed-use property with 25 apartments ranging in price from $873 a month to $2,083 a month, depending on size and commercial space. The $3,800,000 project is projected to create 1 new FTE over the next 3 years. The applicant is seeking approval of sales and mortgage tax exemptions only. The benefit to incentive ratio is 7-1.
Okay. And I believe Patrick Dutton joined us. Patrick, would you like to elaborate further on this project?
Yes, good afternoon. This is Patrick, and thank you for having me on this call today, and thank you for considering this application. We are very excited about this project. We, as a development company, own 5 properties on what was the former Renaissance Square site. Included is the Glennie building, a neighboring property, at 186 East Main Street, the former Edwards Department Store at 34 St. Paul Street, which is a large 150,000 square foot plus building, and another smaller building at the corner of Division Street and Clinton Avenue across from Sibley. The Glenny building in front of us today is really the litmus test. If we can achieve success with this project, it basically snowballs into all of these other projects. And as a developer primarily focused on downtown Rochester, reclaiming existing abandoned, underperforming buildings, this is the hole in the donut as far as downtown Rochester goes, and that's Main Street between Clinton Avenue and St. Paul Street on the north side of the street. I mean, this is the blight that is of downtown, and if we can get this block turned around in the best way possible, then I think really, I mean, any other remaining sections of downtown that are underperforming, it'll snowball. This is a very important block, and for us, the Glenny building is the lead horse. So we are doing everything we can to ensure its success and ensure the success of this section of Main Street because we believe it is so critical.
That's terrific. Your other projects are reflected in our package, and we appreciate that. Pictures are always helpful. And then the proposed finished version of the Glenny building is on page 131 of our package. That certainly will make a big difference, as you say, in that area and on that block. And there's more information in our packets on page 113 as well. I think we've all reviewed that. Any questions from the board?
Yes, this is Tony. Will you be tearing down any of those buildings?
Absolutely not. No, our mission as developers is to restore the urban fabric, to celebrate the historical components of yesteryear, because when you can combine those historical components with modern interiors and good management, you have the best of everything. You can't replicate that. So without question, we will not be tearing down any of these structures. We'll modify them by all means. We may add windows here and there, or we may do certain things that allow us to celebrate the buildings, but by no means are we tearing down anything.
No, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Patrick, Troy Milne. So in these buildings that you're listing, and I appreciate this is awesome, great news. Are we considering energy efficiency and increasing? You said you might replace the windows. Well, that would be one of the efficiency things to address. Are we also keeping in mind the green energy initiative that we're trying to hit by 2030?
Troy, I'm so happy you asked, and I'm remiss for not including our green principles within my summary. I guess there's just too much to explain about the building itself. But I'm pleased to announce that behind the building, we also bought the former there's two Mortimer Street garages, okay? The one that's existing today and the one that was knocked down some time ago, and there's a big vacant lot back there at 75 Mortimer Street. It sits between the Mortimer Street garage and the Edwards building, which is, fronts on St. Paul Street, but wraps around the Cox building. On this particular parking lot, we are going to be building a geothermal well field that is going to be a co-op to service all of these buildings. On this parking lot, there's going to be 125 wells, 12 of which are already dug. All of these 125 wells go 500 feet deep into the earth. Okay, we're going to have pump rooms, geothermal pump rooms in each of the buildings to satisfy not only green principles for our buildings, but also very, very low and efficient operating expenses for our tenants. So in a normal 1,000 square foot unit, a loft style unit, one with traditional gas-fired forced air, one could expect to heat and cool this unit for maybe $125 a month. With geothermal heating and cooling and a geothermal electric heat pump in their unit, they'll probably spend upwards of maybe $35 to $45 a month. So a savings of close to, they'll pay about 30% of what they would otherwise. So it's an incredible thing. And because we're doing it all on the front end, we're actually getting the NYSERDA credits for those well fields, but we're also getting historic tax credits because it's really part of our infrastructure. It's part of our HVAC infrastructure. So this geothermal well field co-op, I haven't been able to find anything in the country, and it's certainly in an urban fabric, where anything like this has been done. And we're really excited about this because this should be making major headlines. We don't celebrate ourselves very much. We like to fly under the radar. We like to keep our feet to the ground and crank down these projects. You know, we have construction backgrounds. We get dirty half the time as well. So we don't celebrate a lot of stuff, but we like to do things right. And this is one that's very exciting.
Awesome. Thank you. And you left that off your summary. That's amazing. Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
The medical arts building on Alexander has geo wells also.
They do. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we've done a couple others. Yeah, we've done a couple other. I'm sorry, sir.
They use glycol or direct refrigerant?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
We've done two other. I just want to know. I'm sorry. We've done two other geothermal projects. One is over on Russell and Elton Street, where Nosh Restaurant and Tasty K Floral is located. We have about 25 wells over there to satisfy two different buildings, and we also did a geothermal well field concept downtown where the Woodbury lofts are, where Fuego is, the Jiva lofts. Those include about 30 wells over there as well.
Who's doing your drilling?
We bring in third-party drillers, whoever we can get, and that's actually a little bit of a challenge because they're so busy, and there's not a ton of folks upstate doing it. So we have a company that comes in, I think from Dansville, and they're all over the southern tier right now doing different well fields projects. But we're hoping to have them scheduled to come back up here early spring to continue with our efforts for the Glenny building. So we'll do just enough wells to satisfy the Glenny building to start, and then we'll continue with the well field when we get under construction for the Edwards building. The Edwards building will really take will need most of the wells because of its sheer size. You're welcome.
Are there other questions on this project? Okay, we'll move forward then. We did hold a public hearing today. Were there any comments from that hearing, Rachel?
No, there were not.
Okay, thank you. And Patrick, are you aware of our local labor policy?
Yes, I am.
And do you anticipate any local labor exemptions at this time?
We do not anticipate that. No, we don't.
Are you aware that any exemptions need to be requested 45 days in advance?
Yes, I am aware of that.
Okay. The secret process is complete. We have waived the reading of the resolution. I'll now ask for a motion for inducement and final resolution approving the mortgage, recording tax and sales tax exemptions. Is there a motion?
Royal motion.
Thank you, Troy. Is there a second?
Correct. Second.
I'm sorry. Who's the second? Brett?
Yes.
Brett. Okay, thank you. Any additional comments, questions on this? All right, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
Yay.
Tony?
Yay.
Lisa?
Yay.
Roy?
Yay.
Joe?
Yay.
Brett?
Yay.
And Ann is a yay. Congratulations, motion carries, and good luck with all of those terrific projects with, that have been distressed and they're vacant and they're not, generating revenues. So it's good for all of us all the way around. We appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all of your support here today, and I look forward to reconnecting with you all when we come before the board for our next project on the block.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you very much, Patrick.
Thank you again. Bye.
Bye. Okay, moving forward, the next project is Fairview at Town Center 3. Anna?
Thank you, Anne. Fairview at Town Center 3 LLC proposes to continue its construction of 249 market rate rental units in the town of Henrietta as phase 3 of the project. This multifamily development contributes to the town's vision for a town center as envisioned in the town's 2003 comprehensive plan. Phase 1 included the construction of 124 apartment units and received approval for sales and mortgage recording tax exemptions in July 2016. Phases 2 and 3 include the construction of 125 apartments and townhouses and was approved for sales and mortgage recording tax exemption in December 2017. Phase 3 completes the $23 million project by constructing the remaining and previously approved apartments and townhomes. Phases 2 and 3 of the project are projected to create 3 new FTEs over the next 3 years. The applicant is seeking approval of mortgage recording and sales tax exemptions, and the benefit to incentive ratio is 10-1.
Thank you very much. The ownership for this project is on page 147. And is it Michael Coletta?
Yes.
Did you join?
Yes, I'm on.
Thank you for joining. There's also more
Thank you.
information on this project on page 159 as well, and more than that even. But would you like to tell us a little bit more about the project, Michael?
Yes, we are on the third and final phase. It's a project of 373 units. The first phase was 124, which was just talked about back in 16, and including a clubhouse. Phase 2 is 132 or 249. We broke it up again. It was 249, and we did it in two phases, phase 2 and now phase 3. Just a continuation, and it is the final phase of the project with a total of 373 when it is complete. And it is becoming a town center because, the new library was built, the rec center, which we donated the land for the library, the rec center, and hoping for a hotel and possibly a medical office building up front or a restaurant is what the town is saying they like to see. But the hotel has been delayed for a year, as everybody can imagine why. So that's where it stands right now. We're it up. We're hoping to be done probably first quarter of 22 is where we would finish up.
It's a very impressive project, and I'm sure it will be well received in the town.
It has been.
Yes, it has actually. Are there questions from our board members? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward. There was a public hearing on this project held today. Rachel, were there any comments?
No, there were not.
All right, thank you. Michael, are you aware of our local labor policy?
Yes, I am.
Do you anticipate any local labor exemptions at this time?
Possibly for the Jip Creek, we may need an exemption for that, but this particular project is mostly ranches and for townhomes. I don't know if we would even need Henderson Johnson here, but yes, we would we would go for an exemption 45 days in advance if we do need them.
Okay, great. You just answered my third question. All right. The secret process is complete. We're waiving the reading of the resolution. I'll now ask for a motion for inducement and final resolution approving the mortgage recording tax and sales tax exemptions. Is there a motion?
I'll motion to approve, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second?
This is Jay, I'll second.
Thank you. All right. So it's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Tony? Lisa?
Yay.
Roy?
Yay.
Joe?
Yay.
Yes?
Yay.
And yay. Motion carried. Congratulations.
Well, thank you,
Good luck
everyone.
with it.
We appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
In spite of pandemic or other struggles. So, good luck with this next phase. All right.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Okay, now we have a couple of project modifications. The first one is 1733 Ridge Road LLC. Anna?
Thank you. 1733 Ridge Road LLC is the owner of the former Irondequoit Mall, which is being redeveloped as Skyview on the Ridge. The 1 million square foot facility will be repurposed into flex office warehouse space. Phase 1 of the project was approved by the board in March of 2018 for mortgage recording tax exemption, sales tax exemption, and a custom 20-year pilot. The applicant is seeking an extension of the sales tax exemption through December 31st, 2022, as this project has had construction delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, thank you. So this is an extension of the sales tax exemption to December 31, 2022. Is there a motion?
Tony, make a motion.
Thank you.
Lisa,
Okay.
second.
Joe.
I think Lisa got it. Second. Any additional comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. American Packaging.
Thank you. Rachel will be discussing this item.
So for American Packaging, what we are doing is amending our original resolution, or our resolution of November 19th, 2019, to correctly memorialize the sales tax amount that was reflected in that resolution. Again, it was correct in the board minutes, the board write-up, and the cost benefit analysis, but there was an error in the resolution. So this resolution amends that November 19th, 2019 resolution.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Rachel? All right. I'll ask for a motion to approve the amendment to the resolution dated November 19, 2019 to properly note the previously approved increase and the sales tax exemption granted.
So moved, Jay.
Been moved by Trey, seconded by Jay. Any questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the Finance Committee report. Tony, are you going to do that for us?
Yes, we met, just one second. We met on is March the 10th. And, approve the minutes from March 10th. And, we reviewed the proposed budget and, it looked good.
Okay, so that you're recommending to the full board that, that we adopt the 21,
Recommending to the whole board that we adopt the budget.
the 2021 budget as presented. Does everyone have a copy of the budget?
Yes, it should be in board packet materials, and
Page 202.
Okay.
and I'll just point out that we proposed a balanced budget here, and this will be the first balanced budget since the year ending 12/31/2018.
Are you going to walk us through the budget, Anna, or is Greg going to do that?
Yeah, Greg is on the line.
Okay, Greg, here's to you.
Got it. Yeah, so as Anna mentioned, we tried to, again, really look at data that supports some of our assumptions and things like that. So we tried to get to the point where we were balanced, you know, and again, one of the big drivers of that is our revenue. You know, so, you know, as we look back, we actually went back and looked 12 years of data in terms of our revenue to really kind of see, you know, because again, every year we're 2 million, 2 million, 2 million. And our average over basically a 12-year period is a little over $2 million. So it's like $2,033,000 almost to be exact. So again, based on our backlog and you know, the data, we felt that 2 million moving forward was still a good number at this point. Obviously, COVID and everything else that's going on throws a little bit more uncertainty into it. But, you know, again, I think we also want to try to be as positive and having the data support those decisions. So that's kind of where our revenue ended up, our projected revenue ended up for the next year. Payroll is expected based on, you know, approved position. Sponsorships are going to be down quite a bit. The big change or the big commitment is generally, you know, the community development or program cost. Empower or the ladder's office still will continue in the next year. We did budget for potential other programs that we want to consider. Because it happens every year, there's new programs that come up that we want to make sure that we have dollars committed to that we don't want to just turn away. So that's where you see that other $300,000 we have budgeted for the next year. General administrative costs, generally the significant portion of that is the county contract amount that is basically a set amount each year. And then, you know, some other, you know, professional consulting fees, legal fees, pretty, you know, consistent with years prior. And all overall, again, that's showing us a slight surplus, if you will, of our revenue over our expenses of about $69,000. So that is the budget for 2021. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Greg. Questions for Greg? Okay, hearing none, I will go ahead and ask for a motion to the budget for 2021 and to accept the proposed budget from our finance committee meeting of the October 15th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ed. Is there a second?
Second, Joe.
Okay, seconded by Rita. Any additional questions, comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thanks for everyone for the work on that and having a balanced budget. We like that. Okay. At this point, we're going to turn the discussion items turn to the discussion items. Lana will review them. The first one is on the return update to work grant. Anna, I'll let you talk about that.
Thank you, Anne. This is an opportunity that was presented to us by the deputy, she's the community outreach, director of community outreach for DHS with Monroe County, Candace Lucas. Excelis Blue Cross Blue Shield is offering us a grant to support small businesses with PPE. And I'm going to let Faye Pello, our special projects manager, talk about this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Nice to talk to all of you. Excelis is planning to provide us a grant in the amount of $40,000 in order to purchase and distribute personal protective equipment supplies to the community in the form of kits that would include hand sanitizer, cleaning products, masks, and nose shields, and CDC health and safety materials. Those funds may also be utilized to cover the cost of printing and distribution. The kits will be dispensed to businesses that are reopening or have recently reopened after a COVID-19 related shutdown.
Does anybody have any questions? I'll clarify. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Also right up there in that packet on page 211.
Thank you, Anne. And the county had asked COMIDA to administer this program because if the county were to accept the grant, it would have had to go before the Monroe County Legislature, and the county executive wants to see this executed on expeditiously. So it made sense for us to take this on. And so what we'll do internally is accept the grant with the board's permission and then work to procure PPE supplies from local vendors and staff and administer and market a distribution type event or events, plural.
Okay, great. Questions for Anna? Okay. Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion for the acceptance and the use of the $40,000 grant from Excelis Health Plan, Inc., as outlined in the grant agreement.
So moved,
Joining
Jay.
the meeting, Megan Ahoviak.
Moved by Jay. Is there a second? Tony, is a second. Any additional questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Will be, I'm sure, very well received. The next item on the SOAR Foundation program.
Thank you, Anne. This is an opportunity for COMIDA to take a step forward in addressing the digital divide, which has been exacerbated in Monroe County due to COVID-19. I'm going to pass it to Faye to introduce this opportunity, and Megan Aloviak, who is the executive director from the SOAR Foundation, has also joined us, and she will present more in depth what this opportunity entails.
Thank you. The mission of the SOAR Foundation is to empower communities by enhancing technological access, awareness, and ability. They do this by receiving, repairing, and refurbishing laptops and desktop computers, and then redistributing them to organizations in our community like schools, nonprofits, and other organizations to those people who need it most. They are requesting $20,412 for 6 rolling computer carts that will be able to hold 18 desktop computers for refurbishment at once. Each of these carts will be equipped with multiple power sources, Ethernet ports, and network switches. The towers will also save space and be less physically demanding for staff members. This will significantly increase efficiency and enable the SOAR Foundation to process a greater number of computers for redistribution. This will definitely help them ramp up their organization this year. As Anna said, they've definitely had a greater number of people who need computers this year with the COVID-19 pandemic. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Megan, who will be able to talk a little bit more about their organization. Hi, Megan.
Hello, thank you. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Megan Ahobiak, and I'm the Executive Director for the Shore Foundation. It goes without saying, this is a critical time for increasing computer access in our community, especially for low-income individuals. Remote learning and working during the pandemic, it puts a spotlight in it even more. And the Shore Foundation wants to be able to provide more refurbished computers into the households of people in need within Rochester. So one way, as they had described, to reach this goal is to improve our actual refurbishment process by using rolling carts. Right now, our computer refurbishment process is very thorough, but very manual right now. We have to physically carry 15, 25-pound computers to each stage of refurbishment, from cleaning the data to installing the Microsoft Office system. And so that's physically demanding, but also limiting for as we try to grow and ultimately hire more people to help. So more efficient operations will help us to better use our resources, which really means more computers are going to be able to be refurbished in less time and out into the community to people who need them. So this project would be very helpful in improving our efficiency and helping us do more for the community.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Megan. This is a very impressive undertaking, to help digital divide issues and to speed up the process and put the hands of the computers into the folks who need them the most, and they need them now. So we appreciate that. Any questions by the board on this? We have this is page 213 in our packet. Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the $20,000 $412 contribution to the Shore Foundation to purchase 6 rolling computer carts. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, it's Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Is there a second?
I'll second Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And the last discussion item, and good luck, Megan, and we look forward to more good work.
Thank you so much.
Coming days, you're very welcome.
All right, thank you. We appreciate it greatly. Have a great rest of the day.
You too. Okay, the last discussion item is the CGR, Center for Governmental Research report that we had initiated. And so Anna, I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you, Anne.
Looks like we also have a couple of CGR folks with us.
Yes, they will be dialing in momentarily. Erica Rosenberg, who is the president and executive director of CGR, and Kent Gardner, who's the chief economist who did the bulk of the analysis in this report. As you may recall, we initiated this effort at the request of the county executive to help steer us in the right direction, looking ahead into next year and beyond in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, and as a way to identify low-hanging fruit opportunities for Monroe County economic development to improve its operations and be more responsive to the needs of the business community. And I believe I just heard Erica Rosenberg join the call. Erica, welcome.
Thank you. Ken should be on or join me soon.
Okay, great. I just updated the board on this item, and Erica, I'd love for you to talk a little bit from the CGR side about this effort and touch upon some of the recommendations that were made and the observations that were made.
Sure, I'm happy to. I don't know if Ken, that wasn't Kent, I guess.
I don't know that he joined just yet.
Okay. Yeah, well, I can start off by saying, if you had a chance to look at the report, which we're very grateful to have had the opportunity to do for y'all. We sort of put it in the of the current struggles that the local economy and of course the national and international economies are experiencing right now because of the impact of the pandemic. And obviously that just heightens the need for the county's economic development function to be as effective as possible. So we interviewed more than 40 people with either local knowledge about economic development and the current system. We also talked to some folks from other parts of the state to understand how they do things in their area to kind of provide some comparative information. That was the foundation of our report. And the findings and recommendations center around a lot around workforce development and also economic development as well. So we're Ken's still not on, is that right? Joining the meeting.
Looks like you just joined.
I just joined. Sorry about that. Had a couple of misfires there.
No problem. Apologies for the late notice there, Kent. Thank you for joining.
Oh, sorry.
Thank
And
you
I'm
for
listening
joining.
on the live stream, so.
Okay.
Oh, great. So you heard Kent, and I'm ready to turn it over to you to talk about the findings and recommendations.
Sure. So I suggest that you go to page 18 in the report. Given that you have the report in front of you in writing, and there's a fair bit of detail there, I'm just gonna just kind of run over the top level here and open that to questions. And of course, we're also very willing to receive questions by email, or if you'd like to call, certainly that would be fine too. So again, starting at the findings and recommendations, page 18, there were some questions about the structure of economic development of the county. As you know, counties approach economic development in very different ways in the state of New York. It's one of the crazy things about New York is that because we have so many different structures for local government, we also have very different approaches to providing services the local governments provide. So counties vary all over the place. And there were some people who suggested perhaps the structure of economic development in Monroe County should be reviewed. And we found no evidence to suggest that was necessary at that time. We've spent a fair bit of time taking a look at the question of accountability across the economic development ecosystem of partners. As you know, Monroe County Economic Development is part of, as we, it's quite the buzzword these days, but ecosystem, and I think a lot of buzzwords become buzzwords partly because they're very useful. And this one I think is also useful. Economic development has many different pieces. When we think about economic development, and the old line is that economic development is a three-legged stool. You have entrepreneurship, retention and expansion, and then business attraction. And so economic development for Monroe County is integrated with the other organizations that are doing similar things. So there's a relationship with the city of Rochester, obviously. And then there are regional and state relationships. And so trying to figure out where Monroe County fits in that ecosystem is important, and asking the question of whether the role that Monroe County is playing right now and the role its partners are playing is really appropriate to the needs of the county residents and the county businesses. So simple, few recommendations there. It's mostly it's a question of making sure that Monroe County is well represented at those organizations, and that there's a level of transparency between those organizations and Monroe County. With respect to entrepreneurship, Adam Bello is an ex officio member of the board of NextCore. We think staying close to NextCore is a good idea, and to the extent that the county can be perhaps a bit more involved, that would be productive. Retention and expansion, that's something that the GRE has more resources to devote to business retention and expansion than the county does, but they still have an obligation to be serving the needs of the county's businesses. So to the extent that, again, given that Anna came from GRE, It's a good relationship, and we just encourage a continued dialogue and continued transparency around what GRE is doing on behalf of the county. And for the county, I mean, the county also does work in this area as well, but making sure that that's well coordinated between the two is important. Same applies to business attraction. Again, we have really two organizations that are on the cutting edge in terms of lead generation. One of those, again, GRE, but the other would be the state of New York. And to the extent that this influences affects Monroe County, a level of transparency around the lead generation, what projects are active, I think is important. We spent a good bit of time talking with Matt Hurl about the information systems that they have to track these various prospects, and the possibility of Monroe County being pulled in a little earlier, perhaps, to some of that information flow, so that Anna and her staff have a good idea of what's in the pipeline. So then moving on to page 20. Coordination with the city of Rochester is important. I mean, obviously Rochester and its residents are an important part of the county. I think it's fair to say that the presenting needs of the city of Rochester are not always the same as the presenting needs of Rochester's suburbs. And so the county and the city, should maintain good communication. There are some very specific programs that the city is proposing, particularly around, we call it our urban entrepreneurship, which is, rather different than the kind of entrepreneurial ventures that you see coming out of University of Rochester. There's an emphasis on neighborhood development and neighborhood level entrepreneurship. Once again, it's a concern of the county that they be, of the city, that they be engaged in the work that the county is doing. Certainly endorse that. So then moving on to page 21, we asked the question whether Monroe County has its own economic development strategy. Being part of the state's regional council, obviously within the context of the counties or the Finger Lakes Regional Economic Development Council plan, is important, particularly because Monroe County and Rochester, more Monroe County, really is the economic hub of the Finger Lakes region. Monroe County is really a big dog here, and so we think it's important that while Monroe County be part of the strategy, to recognize that the Finger Lakes strategy and the Monroe County strategy are not necessarily the same thing. So whether there's a need, Helen, yeah.
This is Amber. Can I just ask everyone to go mute? Sounds like there's some background noise, so we can hear Ken a little bit better.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I was just trying to roll with it, but there's a lot of So back to this question of a strategic plan for the county, I think understanding that the economic development strategy of the county might be different from the economic development strategy for the region as a whole, I think is important. I think economic development specialists would agree that the key things that a local government can do, like a county, is to focus on infrastructure. Those are the things that you can actually directly affect. And so, job one for the county in terms of economic development is probably dealing with the talent pipeline. Now that it happens at two ends. We've got displaced and disadvantaged workers, and then at the other end you've got what we think of as a workforce supply question, where we're looking at how we create the workforce that will attract firms to relocate, to not just to relocate to our community, but also to expand and grow within our community. So let me talk about the job creation pipeline first. At PGR, we've been very impressed with what Monroe Community College, under the leadership of Todd Oldham, has been doing around talent creation. we have recommended to the counties
Joining the
that
meeting.
a talent creation strategic plan be developed, and that MCC be engaged to produce that. This is a really important time for us to be thinking about talent development, and it is a distinguishing feature. It is the most important asset that Monroe County brings to the economy. Our physical infrastructure is important as well, of course, but it is the skills and creativity of our workers that really make the most difference. And given the concentration of higher education institutions, we have a unique opportunity that is far and away more desirable than many of the other communities with whom we compete. So we think that that's a talent creation strategic plan is important, and you can see we solicited some text from Todd just because he knows this field really well, and you'll see that on page 22 and page 23. Then page 23, this is just a caution. Given that we originally developed the Inform Analytics software package as actually named COMIDA Analyze probably a dozen years ago, we just caution that the software can't adjust for the question of whether the jobs being created are jobs that are in competition with existing firms or not. So it's just a kind of a technical note that we make. And then finally, we want to talk a little bit about Rochester Works. There's a lot of money that comes into the county. It is money that comes to the county. The county has, for a long time, contracted with Rochester Works to do the work of the one-stop. This is principally focused on disadvantaged and unemployed workers, workers who have lost their positions due to import competition and offshoring and issues like that. And that's a very important function. The one question we were asked to explore was whether there are metrics that gauge how well Rochester Works has been doing in exercising that mission on behalf of the county. And there is a relatively new set of metrics. You can see that on page 25 of the report. I think these metrics have been rolled up by WIOA, the Workforce Investment Opportunity Act programs. We think that they're good metrics, kind of new. I don't think we have a sense of whether these metrics are really giving us a great view of what's happening, but we think it's a good start. And based on those metrics, it looks like Rochester Works has been doing a good job. That said, perhaps it is time to consider whether there might be another way to run the one-stops. And we talk about what those opportunities might be in the next couple of pages.
I think, Dan, can I ask you a question on page 25 on that chart?
Absolutely.
Showing, so the percentages that are there for, say, employment rate for Monroe County, and it shows 70%. How is that number derived?
Well, it's the number of participating in the program that do receive a job. More or less as a consequence of the work of Rochester Works.
I see. Okay.
Whether how easy it is to measure that and how much credit they get, I think it's hard to say. That's kind of why I'm being a little bit cautious about arguing that these metrics are really the right metrics and that they should provide a conclusive case. But nonetheless, it's a good start.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what's helpful to know, the success of the participating in the program, to know what the placement rates are, but it seems low.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the other question to ask is, what's the right comparative number? What should we expect? To be fair, a lot of this is really, really hard work. We know other people around the state who run similar one-stops, and it's sometimes a real challenge if you've got someone who loses their position. They've been, say, a factory worker or they have a very specific skill, lose their job at age 55, age 58, and they perhaps have no computer skills. Finding a new place for those people, that individual to work for the rest of his or her career, it can be really a challenge. So, we respect the work that they do at Rochester Works, but it's not easy. And I think that we need to, kind of understand that in the context of our expectations.
Right. Okay.
And honestly, I think that's about all I really want to say about the report. Again, there are some other issues where in page 28, we recommend that there be, that the planning function be given a fresh look. We have to recognize that there are, we have different populations, and that the county's economic development initiative needs to focus at both ends of the spectrum, both, working with, again, with disadvantaged workers who have lost their jobs and are struggling to find a new place to stand in the economy, as opposed to, and then at the other end, looking at ways to use our educational institutions to create a workforce that's appealing to technology-centered companies that might be interested in either expanding here or relocating here.
Well, certainly moving forward with a comprehensive plan will allow us to perhaps tap into opportunities that we may not have been going after but would like to, as well as being more broadly effective in what we're already doing, and then coming up with new initiatives as well. So, were there any surprises from your standpoint? Any aha moments?
No, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the complexity of dovetailing with the other economic development initiatives in the region is particularly a challenge for Monroe County, just because those of you who had contact with the state's regional council know that this, and not just ours, but all of the regional councils know that there's a pretty strong emphasis coming from the state to make sure that the state funds that support economic development go not just to this, the 800-pound gorilla economies like Monroe counties, but also go on to rural counties. And so, while I think we can all endorse that and understand why the state would have that emphasis, at the same time, we're not one of those counties. We are Monroe County. And for that reason, I'm trying to find out how Monroe County's interests, both the interests of its workers and its firms, are served by that process. It's sometimes a little delicate. It's a balancing. Anna's quite capable of managing.
I'm sure. Well, we appreciate your work on this. As you say, you conducted, I think, 40 some odd interviews, a broad reach of people and folks around the region to look at how we can do things better or more broadly of those that are successful. How do we make them more successful? So I guess, Anna, do you want to open it up to questions from the board at this point?
Certainly, yeah. And, I am sensitive to everyone's time. If there are questions, I understand that this is, a lot to take in, and you may need time to read it through in depth and circle back with us with questions. I very much appreciate the hard work and insight that Kent brought to this endeavor, and Erica's support, and another member of the CGR team, Kieran, that worked on this project and conducted pretty exhaustive interviews. So we appreciate it. And this is going to go a long way to inform our efforts to serve the needs of the business community and the workforce going into the coming year. And I certainly have shared this with the county executive, and he's fully on board with these observations as well.
Well, thanks to you, Anna, for overseeing this, and for Kent and Erica and all of your coordination. It's a very thorough study. I know I spent considerable time on the phone the other day going through every inch of it, and a lot of the questions I brought up, they'd already addressed in the final draft. So I appreciate everyone's work on this and CGR's involvement. Again, are there any questions? Oh, we have Erica and Tim here on the line. Okay, I guess not. You answered them all. Thank you very much, Erica and Kim.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we've reached the end of our agenda. I don't have any additional discussion items. Does anyone else have any that issues they'd like to raise?
I don't have an issue, but I have a comment I'd like to make regarding the CGR report and one of the projects that we approved, 19 Cambridge Street. And I think that there's a lot that was said in the CGR report, and I like that what Lindsay has done as an entrepreneur and specifically in the type of work that they're doing there. And I think that that type of work, that type of project is what we're looking for to bring jobs to Rochester, along with, which was the other one, along with what the Shore Foundation does as well. So I think the report was timely, and that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good feedback on that.
We really appreciate the board's support on this effort.
Okay, Anna, do you have anything else?
I do not. We're in good shape. You know, hopefully Sparkle will be back on our agenda for next month. We'll keep you posted.
Okay, and thanks to all of our board members and our Anna and her team. There's a lot that goes into working with our developers and their projects, behind the scenes for many months before they come to the agenda to make sure they meet our requirements. And then a lot of information for the board to have to review prior to the meeting. So I appreciate everyone's great support. And I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. The meeting is now adjourned. Our next meeting will be on November 17th.